Parker, thanks for joining us. We've been doing a lot of talking about XSIAM. I, for one, am excited to see it. So with that, why don't you tell us what you're going to show us today and then show it.
Thanks, Rick. So I'm going to go over a few things today. I want to talk about how analysts, how SOC managers, how we do engineering, and we hit upon all the 3 points that Lee really talks about: efficiency, operations, data onboarding, how we help out with everybody. So for that, I'm going to start off with efficiency and automation. And when we look at this dashboard, one of the things that is brought up when we talk to customers about security operations is operational efficiency. And we're asked, how do we improve that? And I think at various levels for management, analyst, and engineering, and for the SOC manager, they can look at this dashboard. And they can identify how efficient their automation and their analysts are and where to apply improvements. So when we take a look at this dashboard, we can see over the time frame I'm looking at, I've got 87 incidents. 62 of them have been automatically handled completely by our playbooks. And inside of that, we can actually see how many alerts are stitched per incident. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but it's important to know that more alerts per incident isn't necessarily needed, but it reduces the amount of scoping you need to do after the fact. So it's good to understand at a high level how rich your incidents are. Moving down, we kind of see the breakdown. How much automation are we seeing in the environment? And as you can see from this little pie chart, we've got a nice breakdown of, again, you see the vast majority of these being handled automatically, but you get it broken down: false positive, true positive, and when we have analysts looking at this, we also have the resolution that the analyst is driving. Over on the MTTR, we can also see, with automation, obviously our time to resolution is drastically improved. But we can keep an eye on that and see, are we trending faster or not? Some sort of normal things here, but I want to go ahead and scroll down. When we look at incidents solved, we actually get a breakdown of score. So what is actually being handled by the automation? Is it low severity incidents, which I'm going to talk about SMART score when we get over to the analyst view here in a little bit, but that's the number we're seeing here. So when we're actually looking at incidents with analyst eyes, are we looking at things that are critically important to the environment, or are these low severity incidents? And here we can see the vast majority of the incidents that are being handled automatically are pretty low severity. So that means that the eyes of the analyst are actually on the critically important activities. Over here, we actually also get to see what's the time to resolution over time. Is it trending upward? If so, you can, as a SOC manager, really understand why is that trending up? Is that a problem with our automations, or do we need to add anything else? And then over here, we can actually see a breakdown by severity. So are we spending the right amount of time at the right level of the incident over time as a whole?
So these sound great for SOC management efficiency. What do we do for the efficiency of the actual analyst?
Great point, Rick. So let me pop over to incidents here, and let's dive in. So I mentioned SMART score before, and I said I was going to talk about it. The goal of SMART score is to have every analyst that logs into our system know exactly which incidents they're going to work on first. So with SMART score, you no longer have to work on just criticality and add in your own vulnerability, risk, and asset tagging logic. There's an algorithm that scores based on the context involved in the incident, and so you don't have to build that logic out yourself. So when I take a look at this, the first incident I'm looking at is a 99. That's a pretty high score. Now, when I look at the details of this as an analyst, I actually can see kind of at a high level, what's gone on. There's 37 alerts here involving 2 users, 1 host. It looks like pretty common malware. Maybe some other techniques were used. And kind of as an analyst, the way that I would traditionally look at this is, what all has actually occurred in this incident. And as we can see reconnaissance all the way to exfiltration. And we could dive into that to get a full understanding of what's happened. But what XSIAM is doing is changing the game and introducing automation into the incident itself. So instead of having to double click into all the details of this incident, we can start off and understand 3 key areas of automation, right? Things that have happened already and that are completely done. Automations where an analyst is needed to go ahead and make a final decision. And then recommendations. So I want to start off with the first one there. When we look at this, what's already been done? So workflows that don't need to be driven by an analyst at all, that at this point, if they want to, this is just context information. So at this point, we're actually looking at, let's take a look at the details so you can see the difference. So down here we can see we've got just about 3 gigs exfiltrated on FTP to an IP. And so questions that an analyst might ask here is that a malicious IP, or is that normal for my environment? There's other pivots that we can look at. And over on the work plan, we can actually see that all of those decision trees have already been taken. And this is where it gets really interesting is, we've already got our check IP info. Was it malicious? If so, take further actions. So we've already actually added the IP to our block list. But over here, we're actually able to take advantage of the analytics inside of XSIAM. So has this been seen before? Is it prevalent? And here we can see it's not. So, we've already taken the actions here. This is just me showing you the automation that's been taken. So these are questions that an analyst would normally take even when automation is taking place on the system. So nothing new needed to take on those alerts. If we switch over to another category here, so playbooks that have taken place where we're looking for an analyst to make another action, I can actually take a look here. In this case, you can argue whether or not you would actually want to isolate based on whether or not a machine is scanning in your network or not. But in this case, this is what's happened. So a machine that normally doesn't scan has been seen scanning, so we went ahead and isolated that endpoint. And we've kicked it over to an analyst workflow here. So here, we're asking, do you want to keep this isolated or not? And if so, you could go ahead and say no, mark is complete, and that workflow is done. Next up is an entirely new style of playbook. Well, they're normal playbooks, but based on the context of the incident, we're going to recommend certain playbooks be run based on what we've seen. So in this case, we've seen a malware conviction by wildfire, and we've got a number of follow-up actions we can take using playbooks. So with a sandbox, you're going to strip out threat intelligence of what it would have done in the environment. So instead of just being able to search for a hash actually executing in the environment, we can instead have this playbook recommended to us. It's going to extract all the details from that detonation and take various actions, do hunts automatically for you, have those attributes been seen executing in the environment anywhere else, and take follow-up actions, block them, take further on isolations of those other assets. And so we're recommending that to you. There's another one here where command script interpreter, so we've got some PowerShell. We can actually automatically peel back the layers, look at the base 64, do some unencoding, do some other activities. Is this normal in your environment? Are there commands or modules that are actually being utilized which are typically bad? And go ahead and do an analysis on that and then take further action with that playbook. And so when I'm looking at this, I can look at the playbook or I can just click run. And another interesting part about this is that if I keep doing the same automation in response to an incident, over time, we're going to go ahead and say, you keep taking this playbook and running it in this style of incident. Do you want us to just go ahead and automatically run that in the future? So that's one of the things that we can look forward to with the analyst. It's not just all front-heavy automation. We're going to be making recommendations after the fact.
Wow. Pretty powerful, a lot of automation. Still, I see the analyst involved in some of these things. Do you have an example where there's just no analyst involved at all and the system handles everything for you?
Yeah, great question, Rick. Let me jump on down. We've got another incident over here. And exactly that. I mean, from an investigation standpoint, an analyst would normally do a lot of activity here. And in this case, we've actually completely handled all of the automation and taking care of all the work plans for the analyst. And in this case, we just didn't close it. So remember when I was first talking at the beginning, we could automatically close them or we could leave them open and an analyst could close them later, just after they put their eyes on. This is a prime example of that use case. So in this case, we've got what looks like a brute force attempt from the internet trying to log in with a number of different users. So I've got users over here. I've got this. If I go ahead and open up the name, so scans from one IP. I mean, this all kind of reads the same from a MITRE perspective. We've got active scanning, valid accounts, system discovery, brute force attempts. And we come down here and we see all of our playbooks are complete. So if we want to kind of dive in and see what has occurred up to this point, we can see on the investigation side, Over here, again, multiple logins from this one IP. Here we actually see this IP is malicious. At the time of the incident, I don't know if we had enough intelligence to say it's malicious, but from an analyst, they can come in and look and see, like, this actually maps to Shodan. So everybody knows Shodan. We probably don't want, even if we were using, heaven forbid, standard passwords for these users, we wouldn't want that showing up on Shodan. So probably, let's take a look at the work plan and see what happened. So this playbook was triggered. We can actually see the execution over here. So on the, we took the no side, so we actually went green. Everything that occurred is mapped in green is what I mean. So we've actually added this IP to the firewall block list, so no further communications from this IP will occur. There were no successful logins. So this investigation can be completely closed out because there was no impact. We didn't leak any data. There's nothing further to do. It's interesting to know that Shodan did a scan, but there's no real impact. So from my workflow, I can go ahead and change the status and say resolved.
So I see how this makes it powerful for the security analyst. I know when I've talked to customers, one of the big challenges is actually keeping such a system running, adding new data to their systems. It's not just a security analyst challenge, but a security engineering challenge. What do we do in XSIAM to solve the security engineering, data onboarding, data management problem as well?
Yeah, great question. So I'm going to pop over to our marketplace, but we've added something new. So if you're familiar with our marketplace from X4, we've already built out hundreds of integrations, but we wanted to rethink and really kind of come to a new integration for how we bring things in. Instead of just plugging into an API and bringing logs in, we wanted to go ahead and rethink this end to end and really plug it into XSIAM and drive value for the time that you actually start integrating. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to create a new integration. And as you can see, we've got the normal API integration, so we're going to plug in our details over here. But over on the right-hand side, we've added new content when you create this integration. So from parsing and normalization to correlations, dashboard reports, and automation. And what we can, instead of you just bringing the data on board and then having to write parsing rules and normalization for that, that's already baked in. Likewise, correlations. So now that you have the data, what are we doing with it? Are we generating alerts that actually stitch into the larger incidents? We've already got that taken care of. Likewise, dashboards, getting views on the data that you've brought into the solution. And then automations. So I want to take a look at that one real quick. So what are playbooks that we're exposing for automations to really help instead of just adding to the analyst workload when you add new data sources? We're actually exposing playbooks. As you can see here, here's one of those playbooks. So we can actually take action whenever we do see alerts on that data. So from here, I'm going to back out and take a look at what one of those dashboards looks like. And over here, so once you integrate with one of those solutions, this is what one of the dashboards looks like. So as soon as data starts coming in from that integration, you've got intelligence into that solution. And as you already saw with the alerts and correlation and playbooks, there's automation and instance already being stitched together.
It's amazing. So instead of just bringing in some data and then it's an exercise left to the customer to figure out what to do with it, we've made the full process automatic. In my experience, this can take months for customers, and you've basically gone from months to minutes. It's amazing.
Exactly.
Thank you, Parker.
Thanks, Rick.